Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 409. This is your guide to the geek side. We are part of the Secret Friends Unite network, which you can find all of our podcasts there, where you can check them out. If you like Star Wars, Star Trek, all things nerd and video games, we've got a podcast for you. When you're done rating those podcasts on iTunes or Spotify or Google Play, go over to YouTube and watch all of our content there. We have video for all of our podcasts. Marcus made some shorts. I have done some unboxings. You'll never know what you find on YouTube. So subscribe, give us a like, and leave a comment. I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden.
Woo! All right. It's a big week for SFU. We're doing some things. Well, this week or next week, or it's a big month. It's a big month.
Yeah, we won't say anything more until it's actually done. That's probably a good plan. Speak less, show more. Yeah.
Counting those chickens. But yes, there are things coming. But yeah, no, it's good. It's Sunday. Had a pretty quiet weekend, running around doing this and that. Got the fire roaring. Hopefully I won't see flames shooting out here because, I closed the grate. We'll see. I know Todd's like my dog. He's afraid of fires in the fireplace.
No, I'm just afraid we're gonna have our first on-air fatality in the fireplace because that's how it's worked all these years.
You see that. You know what? We should go live because then that's the real excitement.
Charlie, didn't I tell you about the Yule log like special? The Yule log killed somebody, so don't. Yeah, never watch it. Just watch out. Just watch out.
It's a good plan.
Yeah, it's kind of been a kind of crazy day because my son was going to practice. He drove there. Cop shows up at our house. And then we don't know what this is about. And he says, do you have a Mazda CX-5? I'm like, yeah, my son just took it. And he goes, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh, crap, what's going on?
What does that mean?
Apparently someone saw a Mazda CX-5 like hit a car that was parked on the side of the road and it lost its side view mirror. Okay. But no one stopped to report it. Well, we have a Mazda CX-5 because cops can look and they can look at registries and see. So they kept I was freaked out. So we ended up calling my son. What happened? Are you okay? Did anything happen? Of course, if you're in an accident or something like that, you stay there and you call us. So he took a picture of the car, said it wasn't me. So mystery solved. We're okay. Shit. It's crazy. But yeah, folks, just be careful out there. Yeah.
It's a case of mistaken identity. Yep, kids, put your phones down unless you're, a trained professional like me, because I do all kinds of shit when I'm driving. But I'm out there all the time.
Charlie, no one. You don't get to do it either, dude. Stop looking at your phone. If you get messages, wait until you pull over. That's all I'll say. Yes.
I'm too important. People need me. No, he's absolutely correct. Yes, your eyes need to be on the road, kids. Thanks for coming to Todd's Todd Talk.
Your last moment in life does not want to be some stupid comment marker I or John made.
Yes. Here's cat meme crash. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. So what do we got going on this week? I'm loving. Oh, you've got the British version of this because it's a Marvel comic,
all color with a U.
Color, and the comic was 12p. This is Ms. Marvel issue 9 from 1970, September of 77. Now I got a question here. Now this one has it all, which of course every question has it all.
Of course it does.
Now they make it. This says introducing the newest, deadliest foe, the female Fury ever faced, which that sounds kind of sexist, but Deathbird is that's from the X-Men, right? Isn't that part of the Shi'ar, the Deathbird? Same character?
So Charlie, I had to look this up too because I'm like, what's going on here? So yeah, this comic was written by Chris Claremont. So I didn't know Chris Claremont wrote this title at the time. Apparently doing a little double hat with the X-Men and doing this. The Shi'ar, which is the intergalactic species that the X-Men ran into, were introduced in 1976. So I'm like, But Lady Deathbird, who is the sister to Liandra, who is the Empress, was not introduced in that time. So this was really her first appearance, which was very odd. And later became Lady Deathbird. She became a constant villain and always having to take over the throne. But yeah, I saw this and I'm like, it's kind of crazy. So I don't know if the intent was to have her be part of the Shi'ar or what it was. I don't know. But this is just weird. When I saw this, I'm like, I have questions. And some of them were answered, but not all.
Well, Todd, one question that doesn't need to be answered is that this is drawn by your favorite artist, Dave Cockrum.
Yay, Dave!
Second only to Al Milgrom and Mark Bagley, and inks by Jolton Joe Sinnott. I remember, you know how the people in the Marvel bullpen always got little nicknames. That was his. I don't know what was Dave Cockrum's. Dave the I don't want to say the cock.
That's the cock of the walk.
The cock of the cock of the walkroom.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
My goodness!
And you gotta love Miss Marvel's hair, because this is before she became Captain Marvel.
That fair hair.
This is Kitty's hair from that '70s show.
Oh.
So
that show's revival actually comes back on this month. I think next week. Yes. That '90s show. Look for that is definitely the Kitty Foreman of Point Place, Wisconsin. Fabulous Dew. So, speaking of fabulous dews, and boy, in the '70s, I don't know if our gal had already gone to a weave by that point because her hair started falling out. I have no idea. Talking about, of course, Madam Webb. She is our #1 news correspondent at the age of 123 because she's our baby New Year. She already had her birthday. Hopefully, we all got her something. But what she's got for us, that would be the hottest scoops in the industry down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. As Charlie mentioned, hairstyles. So I thought this might be a good year for you to try something new, Madam Webb. I've heard that cornrows are very in this year and full of cultural appropriation. So it might make sense that you try that out and see if you can, get people offended in an all new way in 2023.
It's not cultural appropriation month here at SFU. We'll pass that off to somebody else.
No, we're not celebrating that.
Yes, no.
Celebration. No.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. So we start off the news with a trailer that dropped. We talked about this movie, but we didn't know when we were actually going to hear from it, and that is Renfield. This is Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult teaming up as Renfield and Dracula in a modern setting. Yes, I didn't know if actually this movie was going to be a modern setting, but it is. And essentially, you've got Nicholas Hoult, who goes to a support group, and he's talking about his bad boss and all these things. And then you find out his boss is actually Dracula. And this looks like it's going to be a hoot, because you find out that Renfield actually has special abilities that was granted by his master that he gets by eating bugs, which is part of Dracula. You read that Renfield eats those because he thinks he's eating souls, and just like because he wants to be a vampire. And so this is Nic Cage just going ape crap, and definitely going to be an R-rated affair, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Definitely a lot of blood will be shared.
Yes. Shared, not spilled. Yeah, we saw this at this and the other trailer we're going to talk about. We got it a 1-2 punch when we went to go see M3 GAN, which I'll talk about in the Geek Easy. But this is delightful. I'd love to say Nic Cage is having a bit of a renaissance after his unbearable weight of massive talent, which I can never get right, which was a delight. And Nicholas Hoult is riding high on the menu, where he wasn't exactly a great character.
He was the worst. He was the worst, which made him really the best, because he did a great job being the worst.
Right, exactly. It was, and in the end of it, he was a fraud, and he got his comeuppance. So this should be fun. So this is out April 14th, just in time for your birthday, Todd. Birthday movie for you.
Perfect. I absolutely love this. And there's some other people in this movie. Awkwafina might be the love interest. Ben Schwartz is going to be in this, Mr. Sonic.
Nice.
James Moses, Adrian Martinez. And I thought there was going to be, I guess, so it's going to be kind of more of a trying to leave your boss and not being able to get away. So we'll see how this goes. I think this could be a ton of fun. And like you said, Charlie, Nic Cage, he's come back. It's kind of like the
he's on the way up.
Yeah, exactly. Which is great, because we had John Travolta had his Travolta-sance.
Right.
This is the newest one. So whatever actor that's kind of been a has-been the last couple of years, we'll probably have another one coming out in next couple of years. Charlie,
yeah,
who do you think would be good for that?
Who's going to make a good? Who's washed up right now that can make a great comeback? Jason Priestley. There we go. He was never a star.
Oh God, yeah, he was never a star.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Oh God. What's his name? Steven Seagal. Could he come back from Russia and make a comeback?
Oh my God. I listened to a podcast about him a couple of months ago. What a not nice guy Steven Seagal is. Holy shit. Yeah. Holy shit. Not a great guy. Yeah. So not really rooting for him to get his. I don't know who's living in France. Isn't Jean-Claude Van Damme living in France now or something? Like all these expats.
Yeah, he kind of had a renaissance. He had that one show that was kind of like a take on his life back in the day, and that was supposed to be pretty good. But yeah, he just never really fully came back. But
boy,
yeah, we'll see how this comes out, like you said, in April. So can't wait, and this should be that good campy horror thing that we don't get that often.
I love it. It's good stuff. Good deal. Yeah. All right, next, and we were 2 for 2 seeing trailers when we were at the theater. So Evil Dead Rise will be a spin-off, or maybe they're trying to create an Evil Dead cinematic universe. Addict you?
No, I hope not.
Dead you?
Yeah, and to your point, this is the Evil Dead universe in a way. Right. We had the original Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. There was the Army Ash versus the Evil Dead TV series that essentially ended Ash's run, that more comedic take. We had the Fede Alvarez Evil Dead in 2014, which had a harder edge, gross kind of thing. And so I think this is the long lines of this is continuing that type of Evil Dead type movie. It's going to have the Necronomicon. That's kind of the see-through part, which is kind of just takes you through that. And
does it see through it because it has a mouth?
Exactly. Or it follows you through. But essentially, this is it takes the spooky book and the cabin cellar dynamic and supersizes it, turning the cabin into an entire apartment building where Ellie is trying to keep things together as a single mom in a small apartment. Wow, Charlie. Did you get the red band trailer or like more of the green band PG-13?
I think it was the green band trailer. Yeah, what you posted here, the red band? I might not have watched it.
This is the green band. The red band was which I watched. Wow.
Yeah,
there's lots of blood. There's lots of things that will make you cringe. And all I will say is this one thing, folks. If you don't want to see skin removed by a cheese grater, this movie might not be for you.
That was in the trailer?
They showed the cheese grater. They turned away before you got to see make grated cheese.
It was heavily implied. It was said so. Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, we've always loved Evil Dead, and because we love Bruce Campbell, because there's a Michigan State connection. Todd and I met him back in Michigan State in '97. That was pretty great. He's a super great guy. I've seen him at a million cons and stuff. And Sam Raimi, of course, went on to make the Spider-Man movies, and we most recently saw him back in the MCU with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But I've always enjoyed these. But yeah, this sounds a whole lot more like that 2013 film. And do we know that is there any connection between the film from 13 or 14 and this one?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the only connection is this book is basically finds its way in places. And this is a family affair, at least in this movie, where it's basically a family that is basically trying to overcome a person who becomes a deadite, which it just looks, once again, looks unsettling, does not have the horror and comedy balance I always liked with those movies. So that's what made it for me. So just being an Evil Dead type, like just having those tenets without that, I don't know if that's for me.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. So we'll see. I mean, we love going to the movies. It's our scene. But yeah, if this is a little too grungy, I'm just not so sure about that. So, Todd, I can't even believe that you wanted to talk about Star Wars. Here we go. So you snagged this from our friends at Screen Rant. Biggest Star Wars prediction and hopes of 2023. Predictions, I could make some hopes. I bet you would be better at it. So why don't you start first?
Screen Rant did this, and I thought, why not? So I need a perspective on Star Wars. You guys don't typically do a lot of like this type of stuff. You don't do predictions. You typically absorb the material and the discuss
yes, we're the analysts of sort, but yes, exactly.
And you bring on new folks and talk about their Star Wars background, which is great.
Exactly,
I appreciate
correct.
that. It reduces a lot of the churn and a lot of the discord we get about Star Wars, which is sometimes unnecessary and kind of removes people from what they love about Star Wars. Well, I thought this was good because we could talk about kind of like where we see Star Wars going in 2023, because we know what we're getting essentially in comics, in the books. And then movies, though, are still a great unknown. So that's the first thing that this talks about is Star Wars finally figures out what its movie future looks like in 2023. And they go on to say that they've struggled with past directors, Colin Trevorrow, Lord and Miller, Benioff and Weiss, essentially, and even Rian Johnson. All those projects that were supposed to happen kind of didn't work or were unsuccessful. So they think that finally, and I think with Bob Disney being back, I think that's going to be one of his tenets. We can't not have Star Wars in the theaters.
Right.
So I think what this is going to do, and they even talk about it here, is Patty Jenkins will probably move forward with Rogue Squadron.
Oh, God, please. I mean, that is without a doubt. I believe in her talent. I believe in the concept. I just can't even rightly recall, and maybe this little blurb goes over it, or maybe we've talked about it in the past, but such a colossal disappointment to Mark and myself, because we're big fans of the dogfights of the I was going to say the X-Men, big fans of the X-Men, of the X-Wings, and the oh God, Rogue One. I love this quote. Rogue One was billed as the oily love child of Star Wars and Top Gun. Fuck yes, give me that film.
You mean Rogue Squadron?
Yeah. What did I say?
Rogue One.
Oh, whatever. There was, there was plenty of that in Rogue One too. But I mean, Mark and I have been, over on Holocron, have been all over this. It's definitely our jam. But yes, it would be fantastic to see this come back. And the obvious success of Top Gun Maverick could give that a big nudge. So I'm a believer that could go down.
Yeah, and she no longer is doing Wonder Woman 3, because I think that was a big part of the problem. She couldn't get her schedule set. Wonder Woman 3 is no longer happening. Now, the concern you have with Patty Jenkins is she's a big fan of creative control. Star Wars also is.
Right. The creative control being that of one KK.
Yeah, Patty Jenkins stepped away from Thor, the second Thor movie. She was supposed to direct that. She didn't like the fact that she didn't have complete creative control, and that was with Marvel. And I know Star Wars, they're even less likely to say we're going to give a director his. So that's the only thing I would be worried about, that this may not go anywhere. That there could be creative differences.
A lot less flexibility. Yeah, a lot less flexibility. But yeah, point 3, and I love this, and let me hope this goes down. Mando season 3 redeems Boba Fett mistakes. I mean, my God, Todd, and you were even less kind, certainly, than Mark and I, being on a Star Wars program, trying to find ways to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, because I found it to be an unmitigated disaster. You're given, Bill, the guy who changes your tires, his own TV show, and it was so bereft of material that they had to finish it up by making it Mando season 2.75. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was, they say 2.5, but I always like to throw those fractions in there. But it was bad. It was only 6 episodes, or was it 8? Regardless, they made 1.5 or 2 of them about Mando and him getting Grogu back, and then they threw Luke Skywalker in there, and Ahsoka was there, and it was just a giant steaming mess. So Mando is, and Todd, I know you'll echo this, Mando is the crown jewel of post George Lucas Star Wars, I think, without a doubt. The series and the character, and hate him if you have to, but at some level, everybody really does love Baby Yoda or Grogu, because it's just a beautiful combination.
Yeah, it's great. And Mando has enough going for it where it's essentially Filoni and Favreau's love child. So you do get a good balance. You don't just get the Filoni love fest where it's just his stuff, his story, I think, which is great. I think you have to balance out Filoni, because Filoni really focuses on a specific window, and that's about it. He doesn't really go outside of his comfort zone, especially with his own characters he created, where I think this is great because you get a lot of new characters, and you don't know where this is necessarily going. And Filoni is dipped in with his characters that he created, which is fine, because there's a lot of people that don't know those characters because they could care less about the cartoon. So it's a great way of really introducing them and bringing and broadening that to a larger audience, which I think is cool. And we know the storyline is going to be jam-packed with probably more cameos and different things that is going to kick off more of that Mando shared universe of Ahsoka and other things. Right. So I don't think we have to worry about Mando not being in most of these episodes, like with Boba Fett.
Nope, sorry, we're going to sub him out for Boba Fett, and we'll stick Timothy Olyphant in there as well. No Mando.
Exactly,
Do you think, and then again, we know we're getting Ahsoka, which leads us into the next blurb. Do you think there's crossover potential? Will one segue into another? Will this turn into a shared universe into that regard? Like, there's a big wrap-up because in the last episode of Mando Season 3, there's an all-out kablamo, and, at the end of it, a big bad gets away and Ahsoka chases after him, and then we're into her show. I can see the value in that.
I think so. Because like I said, there's tendrils going in between all of these things because I watched some Rebels, but I'm not up to speed on everything. The Ahsoka focus is going to be on something else. But one thing I was thinking about with this being a lot about Mandalore is going to be a big thing. Now, the one Mandalorian in Rebels, is she still alive? Did she die? I don't remember. I don't know.
The one Mandalorian. Oh, you're talking about the one who's part of the regular cast, and her name is Sabine. Sabine. She's going to be a character in Ahsoka. It's been cast and it's been discussed. Yeah.
So she won't show up. Well, maybe she shows up in this because of all the Mandalore stuff. So I think that's where you get some crossover. So I think that's where it could lean in. Some of the Ahsoka, like Ahsoka, could show up again in this. If not, I don't think it's the biggest problem. Will Luke show up again?
I hope not. Luke seems fairly played out. His involvement seemed to really wrap up when Grogu chose to go back to be with Papa. I think and I love Luke, but again, his story moves. He was just at the beginning of building his Jedi Academy, and that just doesn't seem worthy of and here's Luke. Do something with it a little bit more fully fleshed out. But right now they're just recreating Mark Hamill, the way he looked 40 years ago, and I'm just not down. So I don't know that I really want to see much more of that. I think we're good.
Yeah, I mean, then I would say, is there an opportunity to see any other original trilogy characters outside of Luke? Outside of Luke, I think that would be awesome if they did. I don't know. I don't know why we're so hesitant to never get those characters again. Yes, they're iconic, but guess what? Luke is too, and he showed up again. Right. Yes, he's still alive versus the other. Well, Han is. I don't. Right.
Think, I think it would be incredible to toss Alden Ehrenreich back in as Han Solo, or find some other way to recast those characters Again, not going backwards, considering Mando to be a little bit more of the present time, not thinking, kind of leaving the sequel trilogy out of it and thinking about Mando, which is 5 years post Return of the Jedi, thinking of that as the present time. Recast him if you got to. Find a lookalike, de-age it, de-age it a little bit. They're de-aging Harrison Ford for Indiana Jones 5, the Dial of Destiny, to do the framing sequence that's set during World War II. How difficult is it? That's about the age that he'd look if you put it in that time frame. So, maybe a little younger, but still, you make him a little younger then.
Star Wars anymore, so you kind of have to figure out some other way to bring.
Yeah, very true. Yes, well, it would have to be Alden Ehrenreich, but then So anyway, like you said, always great potential, but I, like you, really want to see things in the Mando timeline. I kind of consider it the present. I don't have the glowing love for the sequel trilogy that some other people tend to have, but the beauty of, and again, I always bring Star Trek into it, is that you can play in different timelines, different groups of characters, animated, live action, whatever it is, and you can find something to please everyone. Next bit here is about the Alkalite. Its release will completely redefine Star Wars. Yes, please, because with the mess that we're looking at, Star Wars does absolutely need a line drawn in the sand. And again, we're talking about a series that jumps back. I know I know we've never actually looked it up, a couple of hundred years. 200
years. Yeah, I thought it was going to be 200 years around the High Republic time frame. Is that right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, with an established time frame, but not necessarily an established cast of characters, which is all well and good. You don't have to work in everything else, but with a cast like Daphne Keane from Logan, Carrie Ann Moss, who everybody knows, and a host of other actors who are a little bit more inclined towards physical action, kind of physical acting. again, a shift in tone, taking it away from the established Skywalker saga era is required. Like I said, Bad Batch came on this week. It definitely has its lovers. Kay, who is my partner who I record with over on Code 47, loves the Bad Batch. That's for the people that enjoy that kind of stuff. That's cool. But for those of our generation, and particularly of our way of thinking, we want to see live action that moves in a new direction, not kind of the same old. Yeah. And that's what the Alkalite, that's what Mando has given us. And
it's not an alkalite like an alkaline battery. It's the acolyte.
I did not say alkaline,
but you did say alkalite. So this is your Green Lanternian.
Lantern. You say Lantern. Yes. That's Lantern. That Lapeer. That's that Lapeer, Michigan's accent coming out of Utah. Mid-Michigan accent.
Yeah. So I'm curious when they say this is going to redefine Star Wars. I don't know if it does, because once again, if this is all stuff that's leading to something that we already know it's happened. So to me, it's just like, this is just going to be like more House of the Dragons, things like that. It's giving us a new perspective in Star Wars, but it's not going to redefine Star Wars unless we say something that happens in the series we'll see that has impacted the future, not the storylines we already see. I would rather have more of that. Like, they are doing something that you will not be able to see that's been established before, and it basically plants seeds for something in the future that we don't know about. I don't want to know about, that's how Yoda got his robe. I don't want that stuff.
Lando got his what Lando had for breakfast the Wednesday after
I don't want more of that. I don't want it to we're just going to fill in more gaps to get to the present.
Which is exactly what this next bit approaches that I have steadfastly said. And consider it an unpopular opinion, but I've said this on Holocron, and I'll say it anytime when they ask me. Another season of Obi-Wan Kenobi? No, absolutely not. You were playing with fire to even get what we got out of that, which was, an action set piece fight between Vader and Obi-Wan that probably shouldn't have happened. I mean, there was nothing in this series that really felt necessary. You know what I mean? Obi-Wan didn't need to meet Leia when she was young, even though she was adorable and wisecracking and this thing and that thing. We didn't need to see him get involved in the rebellion and then disappear again. It was just, so much of it felt super unnecessary. So please, 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 no more Obi-Wan. You did enough. Just let it lie. And Todd, I assume you feel very much the same.
I feel like we're going to have a pitch meeting episode. And why? Because money.
Right.
Why? Because I wrote it. Yeah.
Right.
We don't need more things to just, once again, potentially poke more holes in episode 4, which is essentially what a lot of this stuff does. Then you're basically trying to solve, rewrite problems. It's retconning,
right?
Essentially,
it is. Yeah, you make it sound like a math problem. Solve for why?
Exactly.
But that being said, getting into this next bit, live action Cal Kestis. That is a favorite character of my co-host Mark. He loved it basically because actor Cameron Monaghan is kind of his doppelganger from the Fallen Order video game and the upcoming Jedi Survivor game, which is coming out this year. They made this character as a dead ringer of actor Cameron Monaghan, who I absolutely love from Shameless, from Gotham, just guy who does a lot of great stuff. Yes, I would love to see him. You could easily slide him into add a couple of years to him, but he could show up in Mando, he could show up in Ahsoka, but he could also show up in something of his own because his time frame, Todd, I know you love it, is set post Clone Wars. It's that in between period. And Todd, I'm sure you're familiar with the game. Have you played the game?
Oh yeah, I love these games. He actually showed up on stage at the Game Awards dressed like a Jedi, which was very cool. Yeah, it was very cool, and I'm very excited for more of this. And I've always said I almost like playing Star Wars video games more than watching Star Wars things because I think it's cool to do stuff in Star Wars versus just watch more storylines.
Which is funny because I always watch those cutscene movies and I'm like, I also like watching it because I don't feel as frustrated
it's
trying
cool
to play a game.
Well, you do get a story along with it, which is, but you also get to, be a Jedi, which is great.
Right.
Do I want to see him with his own storyline once again that's going to take place in an era when apparently there were no Jedi, but apparently there were a lot of Jedi just hanging out, which once again, it kind of pokes the holes in the Jedi are just kind of, they're more populous because unless we see Kel dies. I mean, if Cal dies, then
I mean, you don't say he kind of has to because Ahsoka didn't die. She did this weird disappearing act where she showed up a few years later. But don't forget that Obi-Wan did say in Episode 4, now the Jedi are all but extinct.
Of course.
Meaning there used to be 10,000 Jedi. Now there's like 50 running around or whatever. Or he doesn't know. So, I mean, of 10,000 Jedi, it would be really hard to picture them all being wiped out at first and then being picked off one by one by the by Vader's acolytes as time goes by. Acolytes.
That's okay. You know what? I would love to see him in something live action. That would be cool.
Right.
I just don't know if he needs his own story, and I'm kind of, like I said, burned out on that era of Star Wars.
Fair. All right, what's up next? Dare we talk about the James Bond?
Yeah, so we are getting a new James Bond. And the fun part about now is that Amazon owns MGM. But the fun part about owning James Bond is you don't really own it because it's really the Broccoli.
It owns you.
Well, Barbara Broccoli. This is such weird. James Bond stuff is so weird because Ian Fleming, his family has nothing to do with James Bond, even though he created it. All the rights went to Barbara Broccoli, the Broccoli family, because when they decided to make the movies, they somehow were able to be the sole right holders.
That's a sweet ass deal.
Exactly.
Man, oh man.
And there's been different distributors of the movies. Sony, I believe, was the last one who did all those rights. MGM, it's been under their house, but they've really never been a big distributor in the last 10 years. So Amazon is now the distributor, but they still have to get creative approval from Barbara Broccoli and that family. And there's been talk about who it should be. Idris Elba. He's old, unfortunately.
He's old.
Yes. We just kind of had James Bond run his storyline. We had an older James Bond. So what do you do? So we've talked about potentially Henry Cavill, Tom Hardy. Apparently not really
also super old. Henry Cavill I love, and you know that he can punch him up. But they're talking about Aaron Taylor Johnson. That would be Mr. Quicksilver. He was in your Bullet Train, where he was. Even though I was crazy about the movie, I thought he was great. Yeah, Kick-Ass, exactly. And he's I think he'd be a great fit. I mean, he's fit. He's got a good look about him, big square jaw. But obviously this is bandied about, so this would be something that, he played a young John Lennon in something called Nowhere Boy. Oh, God, I'm going to have to Google that. I mean, I'm a huge Beatles fan, so that grabs me. Godzilla, very forgettable. But that would be, other favorites. They went through their sweetheart list. Richard Madden, Dev Patel, that'd be a switch. Andy Garfield, Will Poulter, Jamie Dornan, isn't that the guy from 50 Shades? No.
It is. Yeah.
And Henry Golding and Nicholas Hoult.
Interesting.
I would pick Taylor Johnson out of that lot, I think. Now, so does Barbara Broccoli get? She didn't get casting rights, does she?
Oh, she has total creative approach.
Wow.
So anything that has to go forward, she has to say yes. I agree. I don't necessarily know if she's out there casting actively, but I think
you're going to be station train writer number 7.
Yeah, which is just crazy because she has to approve things. I'm not sure if she is really coming up with storyline ideas, but I think she's trying to keep it consistent with James Bond. And it'll be interesting to see where we go. But apparently Aaron Taylor Johnson actually filmed the intro, where he's, the barrel of the gun intro as just kind of a stage test. So we'll see. I mean, it's been a year since the last James Bond film. James Bond films typically take every 3 to 4 years. So we're probably going to get an announcement the next year or so, I would assume.
Yeah. Very excited. All right. Taking us home. Last story. This is crazy. Because you think about Mel Brooks, he is in his 90s, upper 90s. Mm-hmm. Yes. He's not a young man. And is the last film that he ever cranked out, was it Robin Hood Men in Tights?
No, I think it was Dracula Dead and Loving It, which was a horrible film.
Which could only have been a few years later. He's not done really anything in the last 25 years. It's nuts. So this news dropped, and we'll talk about kind of his layer of involvement. But this was a first look from Entertainment Weekly. Todd, do you remember when we used to read Entertainment Weekly as a magazine?
Yes, we did.
What did we call it, Todd? It was a Shitting Times.
Bible. Oh, no, you called it the Bible, I think.
Yes, I think you called it the Shitting Times. I know you don't like to use bad language, but that's
the last thing he did was he did the producer producers. He wrote the screenplay and was a producer on The Producers, which was one of his first movies.
So it was a remake. Yeah, the remake that was in. But yeah, it was even that was in the early odds. So anyway, we get a picture from Entertainment Weekly of Nick Kroll, who I always love, Wanda Sykes, who's a massive talent, and then Ike Barinholtz in a sequel to History of the World, which was from the 42 years in the making. So it's almost as old as us, Todd. And I mean, I absolutely, love Mel Brooks's films. Obviously, I've seen this one. Blazing Saddles being my favorite, Spaceballs being second. But yeah, it says back there, and 42 years ago, let me do the math, 1981. 1980, 1981.
Yeah, depending when this happened. Yeah, because we're
exactly. But History of the World Part 2 promises to cover the building of the pyramids, the Civil War, Russian Revolution, and much, much more. And it's simply done with a very satirical take. So, I mean, in the modern world, is this going to be something in the theaters? Because really, all three of these are really bigger on TV. So I'm wondering.
No, it's on Hulu, Charlie. It's coming.
Oh, very good. Okay, good enough. Who cares? For the most part. Just reading some of these. History of the World Volume 1 gave us Hitler on Ice, A Viking Funeral, and the Star Wars parody Jews in Space. I can say Jews in Space because I'm quoting. I'm not saying it myself. Because Dave Chappelle told us we can't say that.
Man, oh man, this is probably one of my favorite Mel Brooks films, History of the World Part 1. So many great sequences, like, the French Revolution where it's good to be the king, with Count de Money.
You look like the piss boy, and you look like a bucket of shit.
Exactly. Just a great cast, which really makes these films. It's just people that fully get in just the ham-fisted, the jokiness. Right. Really, really love that movie. And it's perfect because just the premise is just retelling history through a satirical, funny lens. And just, with Kroll, you could see one of the pictures where he's got a little cart called Putz Mates. So he's basically delivering food because they're going to take, some things. Looks like right. Yeah, Ike Barinholtz as Stalin, I believe, in one picture as well. You've got
Wanda Sykes as a suffragette, but they're dancing in basically your James Brown Coming to America.
Yeah, disco era like pants and everything like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this is good. I mean, this is the best thing we can hope. Mel Brooks is, like you said, very old, and I like the fact that we got History of Part 1. Like, they called it Part 1, so there's got to be a Part 2.
Yeah, right. And we're getting this on Hulu in the spring, so that's great. So this is in the can, so we can all look forward to this. So when this drops, you will without a doubt be hearing about it from us because we are very excited. So with that, the news ends. Todd, time to get out that phone. Got to get that feeble Uber app ready. Got to get down to Scugtown, Nastyville. The Geek Easy awaits, where we got some stuff to talk about. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're setting the Geek Easy, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So, Charlie, you watched a movie that I was going to go see, but my family took both vehicles. Well, they took one vehicle, but both sets of keys. So I was stranded in my home.
Oh no! Todd was home alone. Did you run around, jump on the bed, and eat ice cream?
I shaved and yes.
Put on some.
Shaved. My first shave.
Oh my goodness! So yeah, we went to see M3 Gan or Megan, because the thing is actually called Megan, but the title of the film is the letter M, the numeral 3. And GAN. So M3 Gan is what I will go with. But anyway, story kicks off. Little girl, riding with her parents, going up for a ski weekend. Her parents are idiots. Didn't put snow tires on. They die in a car crash. The little girl lives, goes off to then live with her aunt, who is the mother's sister, who is a total workaholic, but is fortunately a cybernetic engineer who works at a toy company. Eventually gets around that the pet project of her name is Gemma or Jenna, I can't remember, creates through, her, like, I got to create something new to be a toy that's a hook, blah, blah, blah. It takes place in Seattle at this, fancy tech toy company. Events this essentially very lifelike android called Megan, and it's like Model 3 something android, whatever. I don't know. You know what? I should do my research, but forget about it.
It's like MODOK, right?
Yeah, it's basically exactly.
Except no killing is in the title.
Yeah, no killing, no kill. And the little, the Megan who's like, 4 feet tall and has a plasticky face and whatever looking hair was actually played by a real young human actress, but it's scary as shit to look at. And let me just say, Todd, without spoiling much and what you kind of get out of the trailer, things about sentient robots never go well. So I think you get the feeling that things eventually don't end up going well for Gemma and the little girl whose name I'm totally blanking on, and all the people at the toy company. Not a great situation. So this movie did better than expected in the box office this weekend, as I understand it, and came with a pretty strong RT score and a Metacritic score, I think. Okay. I found it to be kind of silly and, laughable with a lot of the same tropes, but still kind of a fun concept. I would recommend a friend of mine asked me about it this afternoon. I'm like, yeah, we went to go see it on Friday. And I think it's a romp. It's silly because, Megan takes on the neighborhood dog. She takes on the pesky neighbor. She takes on Gemma's coworkers. She takes on a bully who is bullying the young girl who she's set to protect, which all of the stuff that you saw in the trailers. But yeah, I'd recommend it. It was fun. It was fun to have the and of course I'm got to set it up for a sequel. There's no stinger, by the way, but there's a little tiny tease right at the end.
Is there like a little red light that comes on? Like I'm not dead yet.
Yeah. Oh no, dead yet. But yeah,
don't transfer that USB file with her.
Yeah, right.
Personality on it.
Don't say the ones that say hot singles in your area are looking to meet with you. It's a Trojan horse.
Oh, she became a spam bot. Oh, good.
Exactly. No, this film does have the best thing about it, I would say, the third act Mortal Kombat scene with Gemma versus Megan, and there's another prototype robot that gets involved in the fight that is kind of a Freddy foreshadowing early in the movie. You're like, oh, okay, they're introducing basically Gemma's pet project is this robot named Bruce, and sorry to spoil it, Bruce and Megan and Gemma all go at it in Gemma's lab, and it's really fun.
I thought you were going to tell me, Charlie, like this is like the prequel to how the fembots came about from Dr. Evil.
Oh my God. Kay and I were doing Code 47 today, and we were talking about an old episode of TNG, the one where Data makes his own child, makes a daughter.
Yes.
And the notes that I referred to called her a gynadroid or something. And Katie and I were like, she was like, what the hell is that? I'm like, I had to look this up. Oh my God, I'm going to have to look it up while we're talking because I was so not like, what the hell is that expression? And it's something that has to do with a female, android robot, something or other.
Gynecology?
That's what I thought. Like the gyne part of it. Hold on, I'll find the word for you. A gynoid. A gynoid is And so when I follow the Wikipedia link, then again, this is from Code 47, which you potentially have listened to by the time you hear this on Tuesday, because we come out on Monday. A gynoid or fembot is a feminine humanoid robot. Gynoids appear widely in science fiction and art as more realistic humanoid robot design becomes technologically possible. They are emerging in real life robot design. So just think about Caprica 6 from Battlestar Galactica. You don't want it.
Not guy like GUI either.
GYN, like you said.
Not a galnoid.
Yeah.
Guys and gals.
I don't know that you can say gals anymore. That might have fallen out of favor.
Yeah. Who knows?
You better believe it. So I saw two other things. Now I'm trying to figure out what to talk about that I think is okay. I'll give you a dealer's choice. Do you want to hear about something that is fantasy or something that is horror? And I'll tell you because I saw one of each.
Oh, wow. You know what, Charlie? You never talk about fantasy, so I'll hear fantasy.
Well, I listed it right here, and I guess this is more like, witches and wizards, but the Mayfair witches.
Oh, I thought the horror thing was Mayfair witches. So I guess maybe I'm wrong.
All right, well, then I'll talk about the horror thing. Mayfair Witches came out today. Todd, I'll let you watch it. The horror thing I watched, I've been seeing this poster for months floating around of something called X. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, I've heard of it. Yes.
Yes, and it even spawned a prequel. But the poster, it looks like Daisy Ridley from Star Wars. It's just a woman screaming, and it's actually Jenna Ortega. which I had no idea.
Oh, she's totally an ex. I thought it was, what's her name? Yeah. Goth, Mia Goth.
She's the star.
The fakest name in the world. Mia
exactly.
Goth.
But yeah, no, this is a film filled with a lot of familiar faces. Yeah, Mia Goth, who is doesn't have any problem with nudity, because this is essentially it's kind of a spiritual cousin of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Takes place in the 70s in Texas. What happens is that a trio of adult film actors are making an adult film, but they want to go on location, so they go to this remote farm in Texas somewhere where, the guy who was running it, he was the boyfriend in The Ring like 20 years ago. But I'm really? Who the hell is that guy? He looks really familiar.
What's he been up to? Yeah.
Nothing. He did that and then he did this. And he is the boyfriend or handler, if you will, of Mia Goth's character, who's the main porn actress, if you will. It also has Brittany Snow in it, who was in that show American Dreams and Pitch Perfect. The girl I'm talking about, the blonde. I was like, whoa, lots of nudity in this film, including her. Not bad. But anyway, they go off to make this porn, and it turns out the couple that runs the farm are extremely old, but they're extremely old and homicidal. That's the horror part. April thought this was trash. I was like, I want to see the prequel now, because there's a prequel about
Pearl, right?
Yeah, Pearl, which is about the elder, the super elderly wife back in the 1920s or something, when she was young, when she was also a homicidal maniac. So that one's not streaming; it's on rental. I might have to maybe rent it when April's not around, because
it's your secret shame. You can't see I watch this.
She was like, "This was trash," but I thought enjoying Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I've only seen the one time. I kind of dug it. So I thought that was more, the Mayfair Witches. We just watched it. And I enjoyed it, but it's a series, and sometimes I like to talk about movies more. So this is cool. It's on Showtime, which you can get to through Paramount Plus.
Okay. So I've heard about that, and I couldn't remember if Pearl was X is first, then Pearl is the prequel,
exactly.
Okay. I heard they're making another. I heard they're going to make another movie too, which is
I enjoyed it, but again, it was a horror movie. It was graphic, but there was nudity in it. And Todd, you and I both know boobs.
Hey. You know what? They're exceedingly less.
Everybody likes them.
Frequently seen these days, though, it seems like.
I know. Well, this is why I kind of sought that deal out. So anyway, that's me. So what do you got?
Oh, yeah. So watched Everything Everywhere All at Once with the family. You had seen us already, but it had been on my list to see because it's getting buzz for Michelle Yeoh with Oscar buzz. And so I'm like, I've got to see this movie to see really, because this movie, I've heard people loved it. It's their favorite movie of the year. I've heard other people saying, didn't like it. So this movie is a multiverse movie. Michelle Yeoh, and she's married to can't remember his real name, but Short Round.
K Huck Young or something like that.
And then there's James Hong is the grandfather, who's in everything.
He's Minnesota native.
Yep, and then they have a daughter, and so essentially, it's layered around this Asian, this Chinese family in America. It's kind of mirrored on their real life, but the fact is, you find out, and whether it's true or not, is the fact that there's a multiverse of these same people. Right. And you can inhabit another reality of yourself, and you can see a stream of where you made choices, and they produced another version of yourself in another universe.
It was the sliding doors, but a little bit more elaborate and fantasy based. Yeah,
absolutely. And then you see that there is a ultimate evil that I won't give it away if you have not seen this movie, but essentially it comes down to that confrontation where it leads. Along the way, this movie has just crazy visuals, crazy filmmaking ideas, and their approaches are definitely different. Although I will say the way you can get special abilities and inhabit the other person is pretty funny. Made me laugh. There was one scene specifically with a certain award. If you remember that, Charlie,
a major award
that you had to earn is all I'll say. That was clever and that was interesting. And Jamie Lee Curtis, really great role for her doing something, not choosing not to be attractive, choosing to not look good, and embracing it. I'll give her kudos. This movie, right. I really loved the emotional core of it. I think it struggled with its style over substance, where but we did have a great conversation after this movie and kind of saying, well, what did you think? And we came to like different things about this, and the discussion about this movie I think was more fun than actually watching the movie itself. So, when you've got a 17-year-old kid who's growing and becoming an adult, you start hearing his thought process like, wow, that's pretty intelligent. I didn't come away from that perspective. So it was, I think it's well worth watching, but for me, it wouldn't be in my top movies of 2022. So,
yeah, I don't remember being blown away by it. I know you were very excited to watch it. There's a lot of great buzz around it, but yeah, it didn't. I barely remember much about it. You know what I mean? So, but you know what? If it's the beauty of entertainment of all kinds is that it's going to speak to different people in different ways. People are going to walk away with different stuff, and that's what's great about it. And that's what we try to celebrate here.
Absolutely.
Simply presenting things, and we're going to do quite a bit of that, obviously, in the back half of the show, as things that we enjoy. But there are endless other options out there for people to enjoy. We live in this embarrassment of witches. Witches.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You just saw a TV show with lots of witches, Charlie.
You bet. And
there you go. It's true.
I wouldn't say it was embarrassment, but I bet they'll get there.
It's a witch-assance. It's all happening.
So much witchery. But yeah, no, I mean, I find that to be very exciting. I think that's pretty great.
And I'm not sure when it's going to be on streaming as of right now. I actually purchased the film because it was like $10.
It was that May with me with Clerks 3. Which have you watched?
I actually bought the 4K Ultra Blu-ray with digital and DVD with Blu-ray disc for $10. I got a digital code. I can give somebody the disc if they really want it and they can watch it. But because I've got a 4K player and I'm like, hey, I've got a 4K TV. Why not?
I know. So, yeah.
So it was. So
nice.
I'm glad I was getting it because when you rent a movie, I think it was anywhere from $5, so $10 more.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's why I snagged Clerks. It was like $5 to watch it or $8 to own it. I'm like, I had the other movie, and then I went back and got the middle one, and so now I have all three of them. And so what the hell? I always enjoyed Clerks, even though we talked about it, and it was like, but anyway.
Yes. So I've got a surprise for Charlie. So I put something in the doc about what I was going to talk about because I didn't want to tip him off. So Charlie, I finished Andor.
Oh my God. Here we go. Yes. Buckle up, America and the world.
So it's funny because Andor, it's like a tale of two shows for me. Through episode 6 and watching through episode 6, I didn't like the show. I thought it was boring, bloated, and very much none of the characters I liked. I didn't find an in with any characters.
Right. I can see that.
7 through 12, I absolutely loved.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it had a finale that really blew the doors off. Fuck the Empire, which is the bit that they changed that Marva says at the end. You're right. It was the ultimate struggle. So, question for you. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that episode 7 through 12 will set the tone for a strong season 2?
Oh,
or are they going to blow it?
Well, the worst thing they could do is say, here's new characters, and we're going to spend a lot of time on things ultimately that I felt didn't pay off. I felt like they were fine, but I think the show could have started on episode 7, and it would have been more effective because it's like, hey, why is this guy getting arrested? Why is all this bad stuff happening in the Empire? Why is it all, these people are essentially on a pleasure planet and they get arrested and they have a 6-year sentence now? It was crazy. And then you could have started there, and you didn't have to give me 6 episodes to say who these characters were, because ultimately a lot of that stuff didn't really pay off. It wasn't great world building to me.
Right.
It just kind of said it introduced the characters and said like that. But did I have to know Cassian grew up on a planet that was in the wild and he lost his sister that way? They could show me like that as a 10-minute flashback or something.
They could have collapsed down most of those first episodes into 30 total minutes of tiny vignettes here and there. So it could have been, I lived on this planet, but I was really from here. And this lady and her husband rescued me and they raised me and blah, blah, blah. And then I got away because I was trying to find my sister, and that tipped off the local security. And then the Empire got involved and and then I got caught. And then I did this job so I could get money. Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of the things like you would say, well, no, you have to show them. Like, no, they don't, because they could have talked about this robbery that happened on this planet, and they go, oh, okay, that must mean something. You could find back through things. Oh, because Cassian was involved. We didn't know that. And then why are people after Cassian? Why is he important? And what does this have to do? And who is this Marva lady? And why? All of that stuff, I didn't need 6 hours of to tell me that, because I'm an intelligent person and I can pick up story beats and background and get me there. So I thought, like I said, I really thought they did. I thought there was so much drama. It reminds me of like Game of Thrones. That's where Game of Thrones, like that felt like Game of Thrones. It was riveting TV. I didn't know what was going to happen next. First 6 episodes, I just felt was bloated and wasn't good TV. It wasn't great writing. Didn't have great character development. It was just telling this is who the people are. Great.
Game of drama. Oh my god. Well, I'm glad that you stepped out on a ledge. Obviously, I mean, I didn't ever think that it would be something that clicked with you. I can't totally disagree that the first half of it was wasted, but like I said, maybe they learned a lesson that taking us into season 2, we're going to see something that's absolutely.
I hope so, and I hope they don't spend like the first 6 episodes saying, "Well, this is what happened over the last 4 years," because we're picking up like they don't need to.
Yeah. I don't disagree. Well, good. All right. Well, that takes us out of the Geek Easy, Todd. Time for getting that Air Qantas app out. We're getting down to the land down under. It's time for, I almost need the music, the Friendies, the best of 2022 7th annual. Let's go for it.
It's the 7th annual Friendies
Award for Outstanding Achievement in
Thank you, Tina. And thank you for that wonderful theme song. This is the Friendies. Charlie, we are in Friendies year 7.
Woo! I love it.
Excellent. Yes. So this is our annual best of. Now, we could say favorites, whatever, but it's what we view as our favorite things of the year. We don't always agree, and that's fine. Secret Friends doesn't have just one thing we don't agree with. We just have our own separate lists, and we share with you all. We start, though, with our stories of the year. So I'll go through these very quickly. Once we've finished talking about these stories, we'll say which one of ours was our favorite or most important stories of the year. So we had the HBO Max and CW Chaos, I call it The Culling. We had the Joker sequel news, which adds Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. New DC leadership versus The Rock. Bob Disney versus Bob Disney. No Star Wars movies. Parks Mismanagement and Disney Plus profit issues. Daredevil is back in the MCU. Joe Quesada leaves Marvel. San Diego Comic-Con and the big cons actually return, including Star Wars Celebrations, the Star Trek big event there, D23, and your Comic-Con. Kevin Conroy passes away, and long-delayed sequels win the box office, including Top Gun and Avatar.
Ooh, that is tough, because I could probably pick out 3 that I think are massive. Big cons were important to me because we went to Mission Chicago for Star Trek. The DC leadership shakeup was pivotal, and obviously with James Gunn stepping in. But I'm going to have to go with long delayed sequels win the box office. Top Gun, Maverick, as we've talked about many, many times, absolutely blew all of us away with its success. $1 billion in the box office, touching all 4 quadrants, as we, but consensually, of course. And all that. I think that was the biggest surprise of the year. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. Avatar. We had our debates over that. I didn't want it to be successful because I hate James Cameron, because I think he's a jerk. But you know what? He delivered the goods with something that you had not seen since, even though it had been almost 15 years. So usually these long delayed sequels are a total fart in church. They never amount to much at all, but these 2 really did. And I think that really impressed me. So that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of touch points to your point, Charlie. We've always talked about delayed sequels rarely do well. So this year, the fact that those were basically the top 2 big movies of the year, that's pretty impressive. And, probably says a lot more to do with the personalities making them than it does maybe the actual content of the movies themselves.
I was going to say, but James Cameron doesn't have any personality, Todd. What are you talking about?
Come on, Charlie. I told you he co-wrote Rambo Part 2. Come on, who knew?
Look, you know what? Anything with the Frank Stallone song is going to win my heart. So, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think I'm in the same boat. I mean, obviously, I think the 2 big stories that are going to have a big impact on what's going to happen is obviously Bob Iger coming back, which nobody expected, which, setting that Disney ship back on track, which is more about, I think, other things than just the movies. But for me, I think it's really the fact that hopefully DC has finally figured it out, and will finally have a plan and creative guidance from the top, versus in the past where it's been, Russian roulette essentially.
Right.
Is it going to be a Birds of Prey? Is it going to be a Joker? Is it going to be the Suicide Squad or Suicide? Can't remember which one.
There were two films that was Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. Yeah, so you never know what you're going to get with DC, and it's like it's totally incohesive. And then you get this last minute weird, like The Rock is trying to subvert. It's like he's going up the elevator, like in a Rock film, into the studio of WB and saying, "Hey,
it was Skyscraper," but he had both legs.
Exactly. I'm going to reenact Skyscraper, but I'm going to be redo the hierarchy of the DC cinematic universe. So I really hope this is right. James Gunn apparently has just written a new TV series for DC, which after Peacemaker, that makes me very excited. But and apparently we're going to hear more about what they're actually planning to do. So I'm very excited because I want DC to do well. It shouldn't be. I hope DC does horrible because I only like Marvel. I hope everybody does well in that realm.
And there's room enough for everybody. Oh my goodness. Well, Todd, now it's time for the main event. Now, how do we want to do this? We're going to go once a Tuesday,
we'll go back and forth. We'll start from the bottom to the top. So we'll start with 5 and then go 4, 3, 2, 1. So and then we're going to do. So these are the categories within movies. So I added a new category, which was basically we have our top 5. So that's just top 5 new movies, and then we have what's new to you favorite. So basically, if we found a movie from the past we'd never seen before, we loved it. Hey, let's talk about it. Let's add to the list. Why not?
It was not The Wicker Man. That was
exactly. And then biggest disappointment. So that's kind of what we're going to manage movies. So let me bring up my list, Charlie. And if you want to start with your number 5 for the top 5,
I didn't really rank them that way. I picked 5 films. Okay, that's fine. You know what? I just for the sake of time, I'll just blast through and give you my 5. You can do the same. My 5 and it's staggering to me because there are no real genre films in here. There's no Marvel. There's no DC. There's no Star Wars, Star Trek. I chose Elvis, which I found to be exceptional. Okay. Black Phone. Don't Worry, Darling, gaslighting the movie, as Todd calls it. The Fabelmans, which was the story of the story of Steven Spielberg's life, I thought was an emotional beauty, and I loved The Menu. So those were my favorites. No genre films. I kind of took a step outside. So yeah. What about you? What are your 5?
Okay, I'll go from the bottom to the top.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to one movie that I really was. It's just more like my dark horse. I'm like, this is should be higher up for me, but I really enjoyed. You're going to love this, Charlie. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I just thought that was such a surprise.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Okay. So that's just my dark horse. I'm glad it happened. It made me very happy. Like, what's that? Nicolas Cage, on fire. Gotta love it.
On fire.
So top 5 going forward, Chippendale Rescue Rangers. This movie made me so happy. This should have been a theatrical release, but it came to Disney Plus. It was so good, Charlie. If you've not seen it yet, you gotta love it because there's so many little Easter eggs.
I guess I got to. Yes,
it's really witty, and we know Andy Samberg's in it, and so is what's his name, John Mulaney is also. in it.
Okay. Yeah, Too much tuna. Oh my goodness.
Exactly. Then number 4, Prey. Came out of nowhere, blew me away. It might be the best Predator film. I don't know. I don't want to argue with people, but I thought it was fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Number 3, Black Phone.
Oh yeah.
Big surprise. Great year for horror this year. And this movie, and I think people should see this movie because it's not really a horror film. It's a thriller. Right. It's not really horrific, I would say. It's horrific if you have children at getting lost. But yeah, loved it. Number 2, The Menu, Charlie. So totally agree.
Yeah.
Great movie. Blew me away. I love that cast. They're fantastic. And then number 1, I diverted. I did pick a genre film. The Batman. Absolutely loved it.
Okay. I suppose I should watch it again because it was sleepy. It was a bad night for me. I guess I slept through part of it, but I didn't find it as engaging as others, but I know that it went in such a different direction and there's value in that. I like that.
Yeah, it was. I saw it in a horrible theater, so I need to see it again and actually get there. Even with that, this movie riveted me, blew me away and made me once again feel like, man, every time they make a Batman film, I feel like they're doing something special, which I don't think every franchise does. So I hope Marvel will do something like this in the future. Yeah.
Epically special. All right. New to me favorite. I picked one and I had to double check the dates because I'm like, this was one of those and it was from late last year. I'm like, gotta see it. Last Night in Soho. Blew me away. You too?
Me too.
Oh my God. Thanks. What a great movie. One of the few that I actually digitally purchased the album because I love the music so much. And I started making playlists of all of this, British, that Brit beat, that mods, kind of London mod music. Oh my God. It was fantastic. And it was with the incomparable Anya Taylor-Joy, who, Todd, we both love so very much.
Yes.
And with a great twist at the end. Emma Peel played an elderly woman, and the connection between her and Anya Taylor-Joy, I'm not going to say, but if you haven't seen this movie, you got to go see this movie. It's a gem. Came out fall of 2021. Or later in the year, but it was one of those like, we got to go see it, and it just didn't end up materializing. But glad to have finally seen it at home because I believe it's on HBO Max, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Yes.
It's out there somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, totally. I think I saw it first and I said, Charlie, you should watch this. The music is phenomenal. It's like the music tells part of the story. Edgar Wright is fantastic. And I can't wait to see what he does next because Baby Driver was fantastic.
Right, true.
Yeah.
All right, my biggest dumper, and again, when we're getting into the summer movie wager, I'm like,
Can I guess?
I was going to say, this is going to be the movie this summer. It's going to be a game changer. Go for it.
Is it Morbin time?
Is it what?
Morbin time.
Morbin time?
Well, Morbius.
No, God, no.
That's not your biggest disappointment?
That was because I expected it to be a piece of shit.
Oh, okay.
This was and it was funny because April was helping me with this list early this week when I was in a hotel because we were going back and forth. I'm like, help me with this list because I just can't remember.
Oh, so you took it from like you were excited to see it.
Exactly.
It wasn't like the worst movie, but
that's what I called a disappointment.
Okay.
No, my biggest disappointment that I'm like, this is going to be a summer movie. It's going to change things around.
I know you're going to say that.
Things have been slow.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Exactly. It was the thing that I was hoping was going to change around the post Endgame slump for Marvel, and it did not. It really disappointed me. It was a little too quippy, a little too jokey. I didn't like how the Guardians of the Galaxy got kind of used and thrown away. That was a bummer for me. And then getting to them going to Olympus and seeing all the other gods. Everything was just a gag in this movie, and it annoyed the shit out of me. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I think that formula is definitely worn out its welcome. So I in a way, I agree with you. I think that was disappointing because Thor is my favorite. And I thought they turned a corner with Ragnarok, and then we got that. And I'm like, oh, they went too far in. And it almost felt like they were just like, we kind of killed the emotion of the whole thing with Jane Foster. So
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, what about you?
So that gives me a different focus then, because I'm like, But you know what? I'm just going to lay on the line. I'm just picking like the movie I thought was the worst, rather than disappointment. Halloween Ends. Holy
big time.
Big time. I mean, I've not seen a movie start like a franchise start so strong, and then I thought they were going to fix this movie, Charlie. After two.
It wasn't even a roller coaster. It was a straight 90-degree dive. Like in the Polar Express when that train is going down the ice cliff. That's what this. You did. I would say you have a kid. Your son is the same age as my son, so that's how I Overwatch so much. Plus, it's on our Christmas list now. But there's a scene where the Polar Express, which the whole purpose of the film is they're going to the North Pole, runs into a mountain where they're going straight down. That was this was this Halloween 2018 trilogy. Super strong start. Middle part was dog shit, and this was what's below dog shit. Cat shit? Horse shit?
I don't know. Probably human shit, Charlie.
Right. This was straight up.
Find a dookie on the ground.
This was a straight up your toilet clogged human shit movie. There you go. Yeah, wow. I'm with you.
We're earning our explicit this week. Yeah, I'm sure people are enjoy hearing that phrase.
I hope so. Straight up, it was straight up poopy. It was like
enough.
Nancy Pelosi said, "It's the poo poo."
No, thank you. Stop. People might be eating.
I hope not.
Yes. Okay. We promise you, folks, we won't be talking about
no more
feces.
No more poop anymore. No more poop talk. We're done.
Yes, please. Oh boy. And you want to go on Patreon? Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
okay.
Hey, people know what they're getting for. All right, moving on.
Okay, so we're getting to TV. Same situation here, but I've added a different one, which is favorite new to you, and then favorite ongoing. So, because there's a lot of shows that they don't end after one season, obviously, and they keep going. So, I think we should reward those shows that are so good over time.
Shows are supposed to keep going.
Kind of. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Favorite new to you. So maybe a show you discovered that you'd never seen before.
Yes, and I actually found one. And I had to, thankfully, by reviewing our Flow docs, I was able to be like, oh yeah, I really did like that, because things just get forgotten. All right, here's my 5. They're kind of in a top down, but I'll go backwards. So Werewolf by Night, a one-shot by Marvel, the first one that they did, the second one being the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, which I think both of us were kind of about, but Werewolf by Night really nailed it. Totally dug that. Number 4 would be The House of the Dragon, Hot D. Todd's Hot D. Loved it, dug it, but for the fact that fantasy is not my thing, but this really created a self-contained story that I think was super easy to get on board with a lot of the drama. I can't believe I didn't throw Yellowstone in here. I guess I didn't want to hear Todd tear me up
new
about
though?
that.
That's new to you.
No, but the
Yellowstone didn't debut this year.
But like 1883 and 1923, those
true.
were new. But I didn't really think about that. I kind of stuck in the genre world. Number 3 would be She-Hulk. Fun, wall breaking, kept me smiling. Again, the first episode was not the greatest, but the rest of it was kind of gold. Early in the year, we had Peacemaker. Oh my God, John Cena, who I never knew at all until you started seeing him as an action, an action guy with no neck, and what do we see him in the Fast and the Furious and a bunch of those?
I think he was in like Firehouse Dogs, which was one of those really bad,
exactly.
movies. Yeah.
But in this, he was gold. He was totally awesome. And then number 1 is super easy. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. They didn't miss a beat. It was great. I love Anson Mount as Captain Pike. Nailed it for me. Definitely number 1 of the year.
Very, very good. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start with mine. Peacemaker. That's my number 5. Like everything you said, Charlie. It's great. Once again, taking something that was so-so, it kind of came back with The Suicide Squad, taking a character of Peacemaker, which we thought died in that movie, and then came back and just did something totally crazy and was just great. Just totally can't wait to see what they do. And obviously the guy that's behind that is now in charge of DC. So who knew? Yeah, then going to number 4, Strange New Worlds. One of the best first seasons of a TV series I've seen, and especially making it the best entry point for Star Trek you could hope for.
True.
Yes. Yeah, it's great. Number 3, Werewolf by Night. To your point, Charlie, it's kind of a one-off. So it's I don't know where this goes with this series, but it's the format and the way it was done. I can't wait to see more. It's funny because Michael Giacchino, who's known as a music maker or a music composer for lights films, was behind this, and he's got his next film going to be called, and it's that movie Them, which is that 50s movie with the radioactive ants. So he's essentially going to make a movie awesome from that lens. So it's great for him. So absolutely hope we see more of these from Marvel. Then you talked about House of the Dragons. Didn't think they could do it again, and did a prequel in the right way, which is far in the past and gives us new characters we've never heard from before.
It again. Yeah.
And, they just made every episode. What's going to happen next? Who's going to lose an eye?
Right. Ouch! Ow, my eyes!
Exactly. And then number 1, The Sandman. I know this wasn't for you, but John Sear and I both absolutely love the show. Nice. I'm a big fan of the comic series. And I didn't think they could make this work, and they absolutely did. And they made one of my favorite episodes of television of all time. So,
making it work. Nice. Good deal.
Good job. Right. And that's a DC show on Netflix. So who knew?
Not believable.
Yeah.
Not unbelievable. Favorite ongoing show, good category. Todd, hopefully this won't trigger.
If you have more than one, that's fine with me.
No, we'll for time's sake, we'll stick with one. Hopefully this won't trigger Todd. Star Trek Lower Decks season 3 was the most fun. And again, this is a weird show that I had a strange relationship with. I enjoyed it. I got kind of swayed away from it. And then I started working with Kay, and she kind of pulled me back to it. So Peter and I over on Code 47 really enjoyed breaking down this 10-episode season bit by bit. A lot of fun, in a lot of ways accessible. There's a lot of inside baseball, but it's still fun without it. So anyway, good stuff. But Todd, I won't tell you to watch it because I'm not going down that road again.
Not for me. That's okay. Love what you love.
Yes, indeed. What you got?
For me, this would be a series that ended this year, and that's The Expanse. Season 5 finale, a short season. I think it wasn't a perfect season because I felt it should have been longer because I felt it was very rushed. They left a plot line kind of hang, and I'm like, what did that have to do with anything? Because it was introduced, and then it's like wasn't resolved, and I'm like, I don't know what to take with that. So I think in a way that was probably maybe they didn't know they were not going to get a chance to make another season. I don't know, but talk about an original series I had never heard of, didn't read the books, and was just blown away by it. The Expanse is one of my favorite series of all time now. Absolutely loved it. So it's complete, and that's the best thing you can hope for. Canceled by Sci-Fi and brought back by Amazon.
That's what I loved a complete series, and the Battlestar, Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica was complete for me. Even though they squeezed off some sequels out of it, but the story itself had an endpoint that I was always very satisfied with. Though that in itself is a controversial opinion. So again, love what you love if it spoke to you. So nice. Favorite new to me. And again, I was probably 2 or 3 years off this.
Probably is the Yellowstone cinematic universe, Charlie. We all
How did you know? No, it's Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek.
That's right. You watched it this year finally.
I had to go back and I'm like, well, what was I watching? Oh my God. We were just totally crazy about it. It was three or four seasons that are all on Netflix. I can't remember if it was a Netflix original.
It was a Canadian original YTV or something.
Canadians,
like
what?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But yeah, this was kind of Eugene Levy and family, kind of him and what the hell is her name? Catherine what? What Catherine? What's the woman's
name? Not Han. Catherine.
Not Catherine Hahn.
Well, from SCTV fame. Yes,
well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. This was SCTV, plus it was Eugene Levy's son, Dan,
his daughter.
And yeah, exactly. So this was fun. This was about a very privileged family that were tax cheats. They had to sell off everything that they owned, except they own this little podunk town called Schitt's Creek. And then they had to move there and live in a hotel. And it's about how they rebuild their lives and really discover themselves throughout it. So it was what a fun and very endearing series. And it was a fun ride. And it was very sad when it ended.
Oh, Charlie, you'll love this. So, it actually, Schitt's Creek was released. It was done in Canada, but then brought to the U.S. on the TV Guide channel, which became the Pop TV, and then it moved to Netflix.
So I don't understand anything of what you said in the middle between Canada and Netflix. The rest of it just doesn't exist. All I heard was
Pop TV. Pop
That's all
TV.
I heard.
Holy crap. It's like the Paramount Network, which was formerly Spike and Esquire.
Which is the only thing they have is right back again, Yellowstone.
Apparently, I've got it on Philo. I'm like, I've got this channel. Of course I do.
You're going to have to watch the show someday. I'm telling you, we're going to have to get a Tada show after watching the first episode of Yellowstone. That is worth the Patreon segment. Tada show Yellowstone.
That's a good idea. That might be good content right there, Charlie. It's just I'm forced to do it because of the greater good.
Right, exactly. Like I watched this and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to. But all right, what do you got?
It's a tie. So I hate to do this, but really,
come on.
So tie. One would be one I watched earlier when I was moving, and I needed something. And I heard about the show, and it's called American Vandal. I think I've talked about this. There's 2 seasons. This show riveted me. It's like true crime podcast with just ridiculous sense of humor. It's great. It's about these vandalism things that happen in a high school. And essentially these kids make a true crime podcast and they try to figure out who did the crime. It's so well done. So fun. I just couldn't stop watching. I absolutely loved it. So if you want something different, but really good, and each season is a separate crime, so it's not like you have to have 18 seasons of it. There's only 2 seasons and they stopped making the show, so it's great. It's on Netflix. Check it out. And then the other one is Superstore. I love a comedy, and this one is so warm-hearted, but it's got really good cast of characters. It's about people that work at a pseudo Walmart type of store, kind of a Target.
Yeah.
But they sell different things that aren't necessarily in a Walmart either. So I don't know. Maybe it's a Canadian store. I don't know. But great show. It's one of the few shows that my wife just can't get enough of. So we watch it together, and we're on season 4. It goes to season 6. So kind of like, we're almost getting there. So yeah, it's great. It just takes an arc. It's great. Love it.
Nice. All right. Well, let's pick up the pace here. My biggest disappointment, and again, framing this in so much that it's something that I wanted to be great, that I was very excited about, that ended up being a steaming pile, that would be, as previously discussed, the Book of Boba Fett. You know what I mean? You took a character that was not strong enough to stand on their own. You never really resolved what his motivation was for the things that he did. You got a great setup at the end of Mando season 2 where he blows away Bib Fortuna and takes over Jabba's empire. And then it turned into a year of, and then what? And then that's what we got in December of last year, stretching into the first part of this year. And the show was so weak, it had to be capped off by being starred by, being taken over by another character. Lame as shit. Learn a lesson, Disney. Give us real stories, please.
You didn't want to see Boba Fett be a bad manager and make bad decisions constantly?
like they have in Star Trek, a bad admiral or a badmiral.
If Michael Scott was a Star Wars character,
right.
he would be Boba Fett.
He would be. Absolutely he would.
His jetpack going off. Then you have Dwight as one of the Gamorrean guards. That'd be great. Yeah.
No way, no how.
Yeah, so I struggled because there's really two. One is Naomi. I wanted that to be good because I think it's a great comic book property. Totally bad. It got canceled after a season, so obviously others felt the same way. Just they couldn't figure out a way to tell a story, and it was just really bad. So, but you know what? Halo, one of the biggest franchises in the world, and that show is so bland. I don't think anybody even remembered this thing happened. So it's almost like
we watched it and enjoyed it, but again, no frame of reference. You know, and you're right. It didn't exactly light the world on fire, but I didn't think it was.
It's essentially like a Bizarro version of Halo, Charlie, because so little in this.
Bad bye.
Exactly. So it's a great way of like, if you don't like Halo, here's a show for you that's called Halo. Yeah.
There you go. Was he wearing the outfit backwards? Got a helmet on backwards?
Kind of, yeah. And you know what? Never in the games did Master Chief take off his helmet or show his butt.
Never. There were a sufficient quantity of butts. Yeah. Oh my goodness! All right, moving on. Comics. You said comics and books and collectibles. I went with comics.
Yeah, it's kind of a potpourri.
But yeah, I suppose I could come up with something. But I stuck with comics. But this is what I did. I took a top 3, which was really the 3 things I read, which I'm terrible. You know, I know that
we're gonna remedy that, Charlie.
We're gonna fix that with some upcoming new content in SFU. We're gonna be talking about comics. But three things I read this year. And I'm ongoing reading this, but there is a new Spider-Verse series going on with Spider-Man, and they always kick it off with the Edge of the Spider-Verse, little vignettes about other spider totems that exist within the universe. And we got some fun ones. Todd, I was sharing them with the group yesterday. We had Peter Spiderman, who was like a dad bod Spider-Man who lives.
I read that. I'm like,
ooh. Yeah. I mean, we had a new version of India Spider-Man. We had a new Spider UK who was actually Muslim. I mean, we just had some cool stuff. We had a spider buggy that was a sentient vehicle, like from the movie Cars, the thing that I watched with my kid when he was young. I mean, they went, kind of out for a while. And I've read 3 or 4 issues. I'm not sure it's all of them, but every one of them ended. And again, this mirrored the way the Spider-Verse was in the past with Madam Webb, who is actually Julia Carpenter, who was the Spider-Woman of the 1980s, the one that in the black costume who was in the West Coast Avengers and from Secret Wars. Now she's Madam Webb, showing up and saying, "We need you for the big fight." And then they jump into a portal and then they move on to the next one. Those were fun, but again, fun little vignettes. And it's a tee up to another Spider-Verse series, which through Marvel Unlimited, I'll be reading, 3 months after it comes out, but I'll still be reading it. Finally catching up on The Amazing Spider-Man, because again, that's that series that I've read every issue, or I've got to. I read the last 20 issues of continuity of volume 6 or 7. Now they're on to a new one, a new number 1. Forget about legacy numbering, though they managed to hit number 900. There's almost as many episodes of Star Trek as there are issues of The Amazing Spider-Man, which is kind of nuts. But this Ben Reilly is the very famous clone of Spider-Man from the 70s, came back in the 90s. Well, in this, he's back again, but he's working for a big corporation as basically corporate Spider-Man. He's an
Spider-Man. Does he file reports? And
his TPS reports to do every Tuesday morning. But no, he takes his orders from a shadowy board, including a woman with pink hair called Maxine Danger, which that would be a dead giveaway. I swear to God, it's very comic-y. But early in this run, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and Todd had mentioned this before, they have a fight with the UFOs and he gets radiation poisoning. And he spends 2 years in the hospital while Ben Reilly is running around. doing missions, but all the while he's being programmed and influenced.
My goodness, this is too much Spider-Man for me, Charlie.
I know.
Explode.
At the end of it, obviously, Peter Parker takes the mantle back. So anyway, that's the thing I read. The last one is outside of Marvel. It would be, and I'll go on to talk a little bit more about what I didn't like in biggest disappointments. But back in, I had to look it up like a year and a half ago on Code 47, we interviewed the Tipton brothers, who are creators who work for
Great
IDW. Yes, the Tipton brothers, right up there with the Thompson twins. Awesome stuff. But no, these guys are big into the Star Trek comics. They did a Mirror Universe, Mirror War, which had to do with non-canonical Picard and Riker and basically the TNG crowd and how they hijack a new ship and try to take back the galaxy and stuff. And I like how they did it. Lots of twists and turns and backstabbing and stuff that you would expect from the Mirror Universe from Star Trek. I thought that was pretty cool. Those were 3 comics I read. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, I'm also bringing 3 comic books and bringing 3 collectibles to the table.
Oh my! Ooh,
yes.
That's 6. You got to pare the list down.
Overridden. So yeah, very quickly, comics. Thor: God of Thunder. I really enjoyed that. That was something I missed. That obviously led to Thor: Love and Thunder. I really enjoyed the comic book probably more than the actual movie, but I thought it's a great art, great story, new take on Thor that, which is great after all of these years. Continue to reinvent Thor is fantastic. Fantastic Four, full circle, Charlie. You both read that. I thought it was a great one shot, beautiful art. The coloring was a little weird to me. There's that pink and the weird hues, which is odd, but a great classic Fantastic Four, just weird story you would have gotten from the 70s that would have just been a weird one-off. And I'm glad that they did it. It wasn't going to set the world on fire, and it wasn't meant to be. It was just more of if I got to tell a story in that era, that's what Alex Ross wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. And I think he accomplished it from what he went after. It was kind of a cool prestige format. I like to see more stories get that treatment in the future. But the one I really enjoyed this year was Adventure Man. This was a graphic novel. Terry Dodson did the art. I can't remember the art of the writer, but really wonderful take on new original characters, a unique premise of telling the story, and just so much inventfulness in a beautiful book. And it was a prestige format. So just a wonderful comic. I thought it was great. I think this is a comic that anyone could read and just love it because it's not tied to anything.
It was Todd's year of prestige.
That was great. Just the fact they had so much fun with some of these tropes with superheroes and things like that and villains that it made me smile because I'm like, I just love this. It's so original and so good, but it's also familiar and the artwork is just beautiful. So it's one of the best looking books I've ever read, to be honest. So, Terry Dodson's just great. I think he should do more Marvel books. Charlie, you may remember him as he did that cover. It was a Spider-Man book by Kevin Smith with the black cat on the cover.
Oh man, that's a long time ago. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is my top 3 comic books, but I get into my collectibles. I don't really talk about collectibles, but this year I got, and I don't do a lot of action figures, but I got things that were kind of cool and not that normal. I got an Elvira action figure. And it's cool as hell. I love it. You can change out her head. You can give her action figures. It's wonderful.
Change out her boobs. Impressive.
Well, yes. If you need to do that, you can probably do it. But it's great. I just thought she's just an icon, and I love her to pieces. That would be my number one goal, to get Elvira on our podcast. That would be wonderful.
Hell yeah.
Then I got a Gargoyles action figure, Goliath, the leader of the Gargoyles. Love that series. And these new action figures they coming out are beautiful. They're just wonderful looking and huge.
Was that a Super 7?
Believe so, or it's a size. I can't remember who made it, but it's wonderful. Yeah,
probably a Super 7. I have on pre-order a set of TNG Super 7s, and they're not cheap. But I plunked down the bucks because they're doing a Riker Data, Locutus, Picard, and then Guinan, and they're just all these accessories and all this different shit. So I'm fired.
No, this is a $35, so it's not high end, but it's still beautiful.
But it's on the way. Yeah,
it's absolutely wonderful and doesn't have so many joints and looks like it's very statuesque. So I love that.
Nice.
And then the number one thing which I need to build is, and I may do this as a kind of an unboxing building, is the Thor Lego hammer.
Oh, wow. Okay. I got the Infinity Gauntlet for my kids for Christmas. Same thing. Maybe I should have April shoot my frustration trying to build a Lego.
That's up for time lapse, Charlie, right there. Yeah, put the camera there, time lapse it, and come back. But yeah, I love this. It's so awesome. I already have. It's going to go in the collectible case once I actually build it, and that'll be something I call with Logan. So nice. It's just great. That is my collectibles or potpourri this year.
Woo, very exciting. All right, biggest disappointment, and then we will wrap this up. Was, again, not reading a ton of comics, but my biggest disappointment was back in the Star Trek world. IDW Publishing took on a Star Trek Picard Stargazer, which was set after season 2, so essentially what follows what we've seen. Really poorly animated, did not care for the art style, and the thing that drove me nuts is the storyline just basically flew against established canon, which made no sense. Because in the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation, we meet the Romulans after a break of almost a century, and this storyline, which went 30 years back, had the Romulans in it. That doesn't work, but it worked for the purpose of their story, and you could rationalize that a lot of different ways, but it wasn't a great story. The art was ugly, and that really threw me off of it. And then secondly, there is a series right now in support of a game called Resurgence, which is coming out pretty damn soon. Really, it's introducing new characters with the exception of a smattering of a couple, and I just don't give a shit about any of them. So while I am still reading, because I'm like, well, I read 2 issues, I guess I might as well finish it because I subscribe to the series. I just don't care. I'm just not impressed. And again, bad art. Really, I'm a stickler for things like, when you're drawing real people, they should look like real people. The clothing should look real, and they just don't pull that off for me. So I'm kind of bummed out.
Wrong artist then. Yeah.
Wrong artist. I get it. Yeah. I mean, it's not like the story is awful, but it's just not super interesting.
Wow. Well, take that, Star Trek. Get better.
Get it. Do it. Do better, Star Trek. Do better.
Yeah. So my disappointment, and it's not from this year, but it's got to be the ongoing X-Men Krakoa storyline, which led me to the Hellfire Gala, which was a cool concept, but man, oh man, the fact is it's like 85 books, and it was essentially retelling the Hellfire Gala where a murder happens from a million perspectives. There's just too many characters, just too many books, and it just needs to get right-sized because I don't know what a good X-Men book is anymore because there's so damn many and they keep introducing them. So I'm like, there needs to be some traction to people maybe who are lapsed or in to say, this is the X-Men book to read. If you like other weird characters, read these other ones. But I
so you say you need something that's streamlined, an entry point to get back, to jump back on you need an on-ramp to get back on that freeway is what you're saying.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping this is the year they reset the pieces to say, Krakoa is great. It got us to this, but we're going to go someplace new. X-Men's been pretty good over the years and doing that with just like resets. But it's time for a reset.
Right. A reset of a reset. Well, holy cow. That is it. The year has ended and we're off into 2023, which we have talked about our hopes and dreams and excitement of what will come beyond. So with that, Todd, where do people find you out there on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at @DOxtra, having a good time, getting nerdy. It's playoff season for NFL, so I'm hoping the Vikings can actually win. They won today, really good. So get excited there. And then they did win today, so we're going to the playoffs. We beat the Bears, and then so just talking with people on Twitter, engaging, reaching out for guests for 2023 for SFU and other podcasts.
Always.
Can't wait for that to happen. And then I'm also on Hive, so if Hive actually happens, we'll see if it does. I'm at Todd of War.
I think I signed up for that too, but I won't tell you that I've been back to it. So, what about the Lions? Did they lose today?
They're playing right now with the Packers, and I wouldn't lie if I didn't have the score in the background. Packers are leading right now, so that is
son of a bitch. Yeah, that's okay.
So tune in on the next episode to find out if they won or lost.
Yeah, right, exactly. You can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. I kind of skip Facebook these days, but my lovely wife in April and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is the West Michigan chapter of the International Star Trek Fan Club, and I also actually run the region, which includes Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you live in one of those places and love Star Trek, please drop me a line from our Grand Petoskey website or hit me up on Twitter because I would love to tell you about some of the fun stuff that we do. With that, I'm going to bid you adieu. I'm going to tell you as always that sharing is caring. To keep on trucking.
Be the hero. not the villain.
In a truck.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.